Okay, got my buddies here last night, so naturally I put them to work this morning, helping me roll this from the paint booth back to the shop. So, yeah, it's like the floodgates are open. I got a big long list of things to do now. I use this AnyList app, as I've kind of demonstrated before. This is a quick shot of it here. You can see hundreds of items now, and I try to organize this in phases so that like all the things I want to do before I cut and buff, after I cut and buff. You know, I don't want to put any of the body components on until after it's been cut and buffed. But you know, just got to roll through this now. I've got a bunch of things I can unmask, take care of that way. I've got, you know, just going to start working down through the list. But yeah, no, it's exciting. It's the next phase. A little bit of clear coat overspray in here. I'm going to try to scrub off with the old Gojo wipes. Should take that right off. But anyway, gonna hit it hard here and start just picking off my list and kind of enjoying the experience. I'm so tired of body and paint at this point. Pretty happy with the way it all came out. I think it looks good. All the graphics are buried in the clear coat. You can see I got a ton of masking still underneath the car. I can lift it, put it up on the lift, pull all that out now. I think I got to roll it back a couple feet here first. But anyway, feeling good about it. Now it's time to start picking off the list and going through all these totes and everything that I got stored around here and just start working my way through it. Yeah. Big shout out to Louie. I was watching Louie at First Generation Garage. I saw his video this morning, which clearly showed a piece I was missing that goes from here over to the lock cylinder to keep it from spinning. So I've got to go look and see if I have that in one of my magic boxes out back, and if I don't, then get one on order. So, yeah, it pays. You got to watch these guys, man. They've been through this stuff 100 times. They know what's what. They know what you need. It all works out in the end. But yeah, pretty happy with it. I think it'll, you know, once it starts to come back together, I think it'll really start moving quickly now. So, anyway, gonna keep at it. Gonna start working through my list. I got to protect these fenders a little bit. I was going to put the film on them right now. I'm a little hesitant to do that because, you know, I'm going to let this cure for about 3 or 4 weeks before I do the cut and buff. And I'm concerned that if I just put that film on there, it's not going to outgas like it should to you know, fully cure up. So I'm going to try to do some other things to just protect those fenders loosely right now. But yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to start getting after this. So, and then once I get the cut and buff done, I'll let it sit for a couple days after that. Then I'll film everything so it can't get scratched. But you can see the flow coat did its job. I mean, it actually looks pretty damn good the way it is right now. It's just there's too much dust in it for me. I'm going to have to, the cut and buff will just get the dust out of it. But that flow coat technique works. I'm pretty convinced of it. So, the trunk came out fantastic. I'm super happy with that. Once it dried and set up a little bit, that flake kind of settled out a little bit, and I think it looks perfect. So, just gonna start working through my list. And, you know, enjoy the process. This is supposed to be fun. We do this for a reason. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. Well, what do you know? There it is. Just went out back and looked at my pile of miscellaneous parts where I didn't quite know where it went, and there's the part that I was missing. So I'll hit that with the old bead blaster there, glass bead, get that painted, and that'll be ready to go in. Nice. All right, another project I wanted to do before I got this front end back together too much. So the A-frames on this Heights kit are very narrow compared to the stock A-frame. So you can see the opening in the inner fender was huge compared to what I needed. So I rigged up made a template to sit in here and ride in the on the flat region. And I've got to extend it down a little bit there. But at the end of the day, that's going to help me close that hole up to a little bit more. Let's see if I can get you in there better. A little bit more reasonable. There we go. A little bit more reasonable opening for the A-frame action, just to kind of keep things from, you know, the carnage from getting too bad in there. So I'm going to kind of work those out. I'll probably do a little bit of bead rolling on them. And then I have rubber gaskets to put on after that. So yeah, that's what I'm going to work on next. Okay, that's on. No big yank. That's done. So I fashioned some plates to go on the inner skirts here to help close up some of that gap. I drilled them with 1/8" holes right now and just cleat-coat them in place. I will, once I get everything done and finished, I'll put them in there. But this is what I came up with. It's kind of flared it out a little bit to give it some clearance, but it came out pretty good. Got one side in epoxy. I'll hit the other side shortly, except for that spot I missed right there. So yeah, then I'll paint those black, probably undercoat the back side, and I'll make them fit. Okay, I finished up these skirts, got those installed. I bead rolled a step up here so they sit, you know, flusher, and then get a little bit of crowning on the bead roller. It all come out pretty good, and it certainly closes it up better around the aftermarket A-frame. So that's good. A couple of little things I did. I flipped the fuel rail so that I can get the fuel filter and everything coming off this side to pick up the fuel line. And I also installed the pedal assembly. So right now I got to take a step back. I mean, this garage is out of control. I've got to deal with this now. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this now, get this thing all cleaned up, get my tables organized with my parts, and try to get some semblance of order. I mean, I can't even stand it. So I'm gonna do that now and see what I get. Okay, reset complete. I put up some more shelves up above the lights. Got some totes taken care of, got some tables organized. Still got to break down some boxes back there. But yeah, I also wrapped the fenders and doors a little bit here just so I can, you know, open and close the doors without worrying about scratching anything or leaning on something or dripping something on it. So now back to the list. Okay, next up on the list is the steering column. So the first thing I got to do is put this plate in. It has this little swivel joint in it. It's not really doesn't rotate or anything, but it does get your angle right. And then I've got a boot for the other side if I don't like the way it's sealing up over there, which I'm not sure I will. Again, this is a Flaming River steering column, tilt, all that jazz. So yeah, we'll start putting this in. Like I said, first thing I got to do is get this in there. Then my throttle pedal bracket, it goes over these two holes, one of which I had to add to the firewall because this is for a 68. Apparently it was slightly different in the holes here, and I didn't have one of these holes. I think it was this one. So anyway, let's get this done. Okay, got some updates. Got the clutch master cylinder in. The boot is on the bottom of the steering shaft, so that should help seal that up nicely. I've got to, I did put in the throttle pedal. That's kind of sorted out here. Got that in. Feeling like that pedal's a little close to the brake pedal. I might have to push that over a little bit somehow. But it's coming along. Next thing I got to do is I got to plumb up the clutch master cylinder, get that squared away, get all the hoses connected for that. Then I can revert back to, I'll probably put the radiator in next. Although I do need to, that little tiny hole right above the, right there, I got to make that a little larger for my pass-through for the engine harness and gauges. That will also be done today. And then I think I'm going to move on to radiator. I'll get the radiator mounted up because I have a lot of other things that need to mount up in here, catch cans and whatnots. So that will kind of get that in a happy place. So then I can know where everything has to mount. So get the radiator in it, get the hoses on it for the radiator, just so I can understand where everything gets mocked up, and we will bring you back and go from there. But got the clutch reservoir, clutch bleeder has got to go on the firewall. The hose is down to the clutch slave cylinder and the bleeder. So yeah, plenty to do. Okay, so there's the clutch reservoir and clutch bleeder in place. I had to fabricate a little bracket to hold the clutch master cylinder to slave cylinder hose, just keep it off the exhaust so it doesn't lay down or sag or anything. So I made a little bracket that's in paint right now. I'll show you when I pop that back in. But that's pretty much it. I fabricated one hose to come up off the slave cylinder up into the master cylinder up into the reservoir. So yeah, that should be good. If I had it to do again, and I may still have to, depending on how my brakes booster mounts up, I may need to convert. I put a 45-degree fitting on that end of the hose. That may have to go to a 90. I'm going to slip the brake booster up in there and just see if it'll all fit the way it is. But if it's not, well, I'll just redo that hose. It only took me about 3 minutes and about 6 inches of material, so not a big deal. Anyway, yeah, so that's it for that. Let me see if the brake booster is going to clear all that now. Okay, I built this little bracket here just to hold this slave cylinder line away from everything hot and sharp and all of that. So that seems to have worked out pretty well. I also put in these little filler plates. I had to do some digging to find these, but they're available from their GM part number. Little hard to find, but they are a thing. So you can see that one goes right on where the starter gear goes. A little surface rust up in there. Oh boy. Anyway, yeah, should be good to go. That looks really awful for the O2 sensor. I may have to trim that back a little bit. Hopefully the sensor clears. That is on my list of things to do here right off. Anyway, yeah, so that's good. Okay, got that all together. Had it apart and back together a few times. There's a combination to it. Brake booster has to go on before the clutch reservoir because it's in the way, so you got to just keep doing that whole thing. One other thing I did, it's worth mentioning here. I'm starting to get nervous. I'm putting a lot of weight back on the front end, and the back's still pretty light, so I just threw a couple of wheel weights in the trunk. That'll keep her from teetering on me. It hasn't really given me any indication it's ready to do that yet, but I just keep adding things to the front end here, and well, sooner or later, it's going to get heavy. So, I think that's going to be it for this video. I am going to move on, I think, to the radiator and the cooling system, which will be the next video. So, yeah, here we go. We'll move on to that.